I'm going to tell you a truth so radical, it will shatter everything you believe about your limitations. You have absolutely none, and every single one you perceive is an illusion created by your own mind, and I can prove it. If you're the man who wakes up with a heavy sigh, looking at the same four walls, knowing deep down there's a bigger life calling you, but you feel that invisible ceiling pressing down, telling you that dream is too big, too unrealistic, or not for someone like you, and you've grown weary of fighting battles you constantly lose against unseen forces. By the end of this session, you'll understand the single, hidden law that dissolves every limitation you've ever faced, and you'll possess the precise mental key I used to manifest my most impossible desires, the same key that allowed 27 of my students to break through decades-long career blocks or manifest seemingly unobtainable relationships within 90 days. But here's the truth. Most people will resist this uncomfortable truth because it means taking full responsibility for their perceived failures, and they'll continue to build these invisible walls around themselves, blaming external circumstances. In the next 7 minutes, I will reveal the true nature of your limitations and the exact method to dissolve them permanently. Leave now, and you'll carry the heavy burden of these self-imposed chains for another lifetime. Law Principle Title: Consciousness, the genesis of all reality. My friends, I tell you this with absolute conviction. Your consciousness is the one and only reality. It is the sole creative power, and thus, the only true limit you will ever encounter is the limit you impose upon your own consciousness. Nothing exists outside of this divine core of your being. Every circumstance, every person, every perceived barrier in your life is merely a projection, a solidified image of an inner state you have accepted as true. Story proof stack. Let me take you back to 1948. I found myself in New York, yearning to return home to Barbados, but I had no money, no job prospects, and all ships were fully booked due to the impending holiday season. The world, the facts screamed impossible. I was trapped. I felt that invisible ceiling pressing down, just as some of you do now. I saw others securing passages, and a cold knot formed in my stomach. Why not me? I remember the desperation, but then I recalled the profound teachings of my mentor, Abdullah, who had drilled into me this truth: man is all imagination, and God is man. He told me, you must live as if you are already in Barbados. I did not merely imagine being there. I closed my eyes and felt the warmth of the Caribbean air, the familiar scent of the island, the joy of being home. I went to bed each night in my imagination as if I was sleeping in my own bed in Barbados, hearing the sounds, feeling the textures. I persevered in this imaginal act for a week, despite all outward appearances contradicting it. Then a friend, unprompted, offered me a free passage, a first-class passage, no less, to Barbados on a ship that was supposedly full. The external world, which seemed so utterly unyielding, bent to the will of my inner conviction. My consciousness, and my consciousness alone, was the single, solitary limit, and when I changed my consciousness, the limits dissolved. Subconscious programming. Understand this. Your subconscious mind operates without judgment. It takes whatever image, whatever feeling, whatever assumption you impress upon it as absolute truth, and then sets about externalizing it. It doesn't analyze, it executes. When you persistently feel and imagine yourself limited, trapped, or unable to achieve a dream, your subconscious mind, like a loyal servant, organizes circumstances to perfectly reflect that limitation. This isn't magic, it's the immutable law of your being. You are constantly programming your reality with every dominant thought, every ingrained feeling, every accepted fact about yourself. The reason your dreams feel impossible, why you keep hitting invisible ceilings, is that your subconscious is merely reflecting the architecture of limitation you have built within. Contrast trap. Most men, when faced with an obstacle, will focus all their energy on changing the obstacle. They will struggle against the circumstances, fight the facts, and exhaust themselves in external battles. They believe their power lies outside of them, but the man who understands the law, the man who lives consciously, never fights the external. He knows it is a mere shadow. Instead, he turns his attention inward, understanding that the cause of every limitation lies within his own acceptance of it. He changes his consciousness of the situation, knowing that the outer world must always conform to the inner state. Law principle title, The Law of Assumption. Instantaneous creation. There is a law, a divine decree, that governs all creation, and it is so profoundly simple that most men overlook it, believing it must be far more complex. This is the law of assumption. When understood and applied with conviction, it makes manifestation not a laborious process, but an instantaneous occurrence. Not instantaneous in its physical appearance, perhaps, but instantaneous in its creation. The moment you truly assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the moment you occupy that state, it is done. It has been called into being, and the physical manifestation is merely the unfolding of what is already complete in the invisible. Story proof stack. This is precisely what Abdullah taught me, and it's why the hidden law isn't hidden at all, but simply ignored by 99% of seekers. He didn't tell me to try to go to Barbados. He didn't tell me to visualize going. He gave me a direct, unequivocal command. Neville, you are in Barbados now. Not you will be in Barbados, but you are. He instructed me to assume the feeling, the atmosphere, the reality of being there. He demanded that I stop seeing myself in New York and instead become the man who was already home. This wasn't a future aspiration. It was a present fact of my inner world. I remembered his stern gaze and the absolute certainty in his voice. I closed my eyes and felt the sandy beaches, the warmth, the relief of being home. The moment I fully embraced that assumption, the instant I truly felt it, the invisible creative process began. The chain of events that led to my free passage was set in motion in that very instant, though I did not see the physical proof until later. The creative act was complete the moment I assumed the state. Subconscious programming. Your subconscious mind does not differentiate between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, when you fully occupy that state in imagination, your subconscious interprets this as an accomplished fact. It then impresses this new reality onto the universal mind, which is the creative force of all existence. The outer world, being a mirror, then must reflect this inner change. The instantaneous nature comes from the fact that the creation is done in consciousness immediately. The physical unfolding is merely the shadows dancing to the tune of the inner melody. Your disbelief, your doubt, your questioning of how it will happen, these are the static that disrupts the signal, delaying or preventing the manifestation. Contrast trap. Most men wish for things. They desire, they hope, they pray for future outcomes. They live in a state of wanting, which is a subconscious affirmation of not having. But the man who understands this hidden law assumes the state of his wish fulfilled. He lives from the desired reality, not for it. He knows that his creative power lies in the present moment, in the immediate acceptance of the desired state as real. He does not ask how it will happen. He knows it is happening, and the means will be provided. Hear me now. Say this with me aloud. I command my imagination to assume my desire. I am the creator of my reality. My assumption creates my facts. Repeat daily. My assumption creates my facts. I am the embodiment of my fulfilled desire. Law principle title, The Illusion of External Limits. Unmasking your inner assumptions. Let us be absolutely clear. Your limitations are not external realities, but merely persistent assumptions you hold about yourself. Every man experiences what he believes himself to be. If you believe you are limited financially, you will experience that limit. If you believe you are unworthy of a loving relationship, you will find relationships that confirm that unworthiness. These are not cruel fates or random misfortunes. They are the faithful reflections of your inner dialogue, your unspoken convictions, your deepest assumptions about your own being. The universe, which is your extended consciousness, merely says Amen to whatever you affirm about yourself. Story proof stack. I had a student, a diligent man, who came to me deeply frustrated. For years he had been stuck in a seemingly good but utterly unfulfilling managerial position. He earned a comfortable living, but always felt a ceiling above him, financially, professionally, and creatively. He would get close to a promotion or a new opportunity only for it to slip away. He had tried every known method of advancement, but always returned to that familiar plateau. I asked him, what do you truly believe about your potential? Not what you say you believe, but what you feel to be true. After much introspection, he admitted a subconscious thought, a persistent assumption he had carried since childhood. I am good, but I'm not exceptional. He had always seen himself as a reliable performer, but never a leader, never a visionary. That was his deeply ingrained, persistent assumption. This is the exact moment you unconsciously create the limitations that plague your life. Once he identified this, I taught him the technique of consciously revising this assumption. He began to nightly assume the feeling of being an exceptional leader, a man whose ideas were sought after, whose contributions were invaluable. Within 3 months, not only did he receive a significant promotion, but he was headhunted for a completely different industry, in a role that aligned perfectly with his deepest aspirations, shattering that old, self-imposed ceiling permanently. Subconscious programming. Your subconscious mind records and plays back all your dominant beliefs. Think of it as a deep, fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant, be they seeds of abundance or seeds of limitation, will inevitably grow. If you have been planting seeds of "I am not enough," "I am not worthy," "I will always struggle," then your outer reality must manifest the fruit of those seeds. These persistent assumptions are often formed in childhood, reinforced by societal conditioning, or solidified by past experiences. They operate beneath the surface, silently dictating your responses, attracting corresponding circumstances, and blocking your conscious desires. Your intellect may desire freedom, but your subconscious assumption of limitation will always win until you consciously revise it. Contrast trap. Most men accept their limitations as objective facts, unchangeable truths of their external world. They resign themselves to "this is just how it is," or "this is my lot in life." But the man who is awake understands that these facts are merely solidified assumptions. He knows he is not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of them. He takes full responsibility for his inner landscape, understanding that by changing his core assumptions about himself, he can dismantle any external limitation. Law Principle Title: Imaginal Appropriation. Becoming your wish fulfilled. Now that you understand that consciousness is all and that your limitations are but assumptions, the question arises, how does one change these deeply ingrained assumptions? The answer lies in the technique I call imaginal appropriation. This is not mere visualization. It is the act of absorbing the desired quality, the desired state, instantly within your consciousness. It is the act of becoming that which you wish to experience, right here, right now, in your imagination. It is the art of feeling the truth of your desire before any physical evidence appears. Story Proof Stack. My dear friend, Dr. Joseph Murphy, a profound teacher of the subconscious mind, often shared stories of this very principle at work in his lectures. He spoke of individuals suffering from severe physical ailments who, through persistent imaginal appropriation, feeling themselves whole, healthy, and vibrant, despite the physical evidence, manifested complete healing. One woman, bedridden for years, imagined herself walking, dancing, feeling the joy of movement, and eventually recovered entirely, defying all medical prognoses. But let me give you a more personal example of how I applied this. My own desire for a particular quality, a sense of boundless financial freedom, was a deep, persistent ache. I was not poor, but I certainly was not truly free. I knew I needed to appropriate the feeling of abundance, not just money. I would sit quietly, and instead of merely seeing bags of money, I would feel the expansiveness, the absolute security, the joy of being able to give freely without thought of return. I would imagine signing large checks with ease, feeling the confidence that such a person would possess. I wasn't just seeing it, I was feeling it in every fiber of my being. I was appropriating the emotional, mental, and spiritual essence of financial freedom. What I did when faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles that instantly dissolved them was to become the state where those obstacles did not exist. I simply wore the feeling of the desired reality. Subconscious programming. When you engage in imaginal appropriation, you are bypassing the rational, analytical mind and directly impressing the subconscious with a new blueprint for your reality. You are not asking for something, you are claiming it as your present truth. The subconscious, being purely subjective, immediately accepts this new identity, this new feeling, as an accomplished fact. It then begins to reorganize the energies, the people, the events in your outer world to perfectly align with this new inner state. It's like planting a new seed in fertile ground and then watering it with the feeling of its absolute reality. The external world then has no choice but to sprout that new reality. Contrast trap. Most men approach their desires from a place of lack. They want to get money, find a partner, achieve success. Their focus is on the external acquisition, which paradoxically reinforces the feeling of not having. But the master of manifestation understands that he must become the thing desired. He appropriates the feeling of wealth, the feeling of love, the feeling of success. He knows that the outer world will then deliver the perfect reflection of his inner state. He doesn't chase, he embodies. Affirm aloud now, with conviction. I am the embodiment of my highest desires. My imaginal appropriation reshapes my world. I now claim my divine inheritance. Repeat daily. I now claim my divine inheritance, becoming the person who already possesses my desires. Law Principle Title. Convictions Triumph. The irrelevance of external facts. This is perhaps the most liberating, yet most challenging, truth for most men to accept. External facts, the seemingly unyielding realities of your world, possess absolute impotence against the power of inner conviction. Your bank balance, your relationship status, your career trajectory, your health, these are but shadows. They are the past made visible. They hold no power to dictate your future unless you give them that power by allowing them to dictate your inner state. When your inner convicti solidifies, when you truly know and feel your desired reality, the facts of the outer world must, by immutable law, bend and conform. Story-proof stack. Let us revisit my Barbados journey. The facts were undeniable. War was raging, ships were limited, money was absent. Every logical indicator screamed, "You are stuck." Every friend, every news report, every external circumstance was a concrete wall. These were formidable facts. Yet my inner conviction, born from Abdullah's teaching and my persistent imaginal appropriation, held absolute sway. I did not deny the facts with my lips. I simply rendered them irrelevant by inhabiting the state of my wish fulfilled. I saw myself in Barbados. I felt myself there. And that inner reality became so utterly convincing to me that the external facts simply had no ground to stand upon. They dissolved, or rather, they rearranged themselves to match my inner state. The impossible became not only possible, but inevitable. Thomas Troward, a master of this law, beautifully articulated this when he stated that the action of the mind, in its creative aspects, is always to work from the unseen to the seen, and to carry forward into outward manifestation the ideas which it has itself conceived. He recognized that the idea held with conviction always overpowers the visible fact. Subconscious programming. Your subconscious mind, being the bridge between your conscious awareness and the universal creative intelligence, takes your deepest convictions as its marching orders. When you have a solid, unwavering inner conviction, it sets in motion a chain of invisible events, causes, and effects that will, without fail, bring your conviction into manifest form. External facts are merely data points, a record of past beliefs. They hold no creative power for your future. The moment you shift your conviction, you are writing a new script, and the universe must play its part according to your new direction. Doubt, fear, and questioning the how are the only forces that can sustain the old facts. Contrast trap. Most men are slaves to facts. They look at their circumstances, their past failures, their current limitations, and allow these facts to define their possibilities. They say, "I cannot do X because of Y," but the man of conviction knows that facts are only powerful if he believes them to be. He looks at seemingly insurmountable obstacles and says, "These facts are irrelevant. My inner conviction is the only truth that matters." He does not fight the facts. He renders them powerless by choosing a higher truth. Imagine for a moment that your entire life has been dictated by a set of external facts you believe are concrete. Your career, your finances, your relationships, all constrained by what appears to be an unyielding reality. That heavy sigh you feel, the knot in your stomach, is the direct consequence of surrendering your power to these perceived facts. This is a life of constant battle against an unseen current, a life where your greatest dreams remain forever out of reach, whispering, "Why not me?" But there is a way out, a glorious release from this self-imposed prison. There is a way to look at those unyielding facts, those seemingly impossible obstacles, and watch them crumble before the power of your awakened inner conviction. Law, principle, title: Sustained Imaginal Acts. The furnace of manifestation, the final piece of this truth, the culmination of all I have shared, is the understanding that while the act of assumption is instantaneous in its creative impulse, its solidification into physical reality often requires persistence, not of effort, but of feeling. It requires sustained imaginal acts, dwelling in the state of the wish fulfilled until it becomes the natural atmosphere of your being. This is where most men falter. They assume, feel it for a moment, then immediately return to the old facts, extinguishing the flame they just lit. True freedom, true manifestation of the impossible, comes from an unyielding commitment to dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Story-proof stack. My dear colleague and profound thinker, Ernest Holmes, emphasized the power of the subjective mind and the necessity of consistent thought patterns. He taught that all experience whatsoever is produced by the inner action of the mind upon itself. He understood that fleeting thoughts, however positive, rarely yield lasting results. It is the sustained inner action that truly carves a new reality. I have seen countless individuals, myself included, who initially found great difficulty in maintaining the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I remember one student who desired a significant promotion. He would visualize it, feel it, for a few minutes each day. But then, for the remaining 23 hours, he would dwell on the company politics, his perceived lack of experience, or the competition. He was planting seeds of truth for 5 minutes and then watering weeds for the rest of the day. The solution was not more effort, but more awareness and discipline in his inner dwelling. I instructed him to find small moments throughout the day to return to the feeling of being the promoted man. While walking, while eating, while in conversation, to quietly affirm and feel the authority, the responsibility, the joy of that new position. He learned to sustain the feeling, to make it his natural inner habitat. Within weeks, the external facts began to shift, and the promotion, once seemingly impossible, arrived with surprising ease. It wasn't about forcing it. It was about dwelling in it. Subconscious programming. When you sustain your imaginal act, when you persistently dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are not simply impressing the subconscious, you are repatterning it. You are literally forging new neural pathways, dissolving old, limiting beliefs, and solidifying a new identity. This sustained inner activity creates an irresistible magnetic force that draws to you all the necessary people, circumstances, and events to perfectly match your dominant inner state. It moves beyond a single impression and becomes a fundamental change in your being, a new operating system for your reality. Contrast trap. Most men treat manifestation as a one-time event, a quick prayer, or a fleeting visualization. They then check the external world for immediate results, and finding none, they revert to doubt and despair. They lack the inner discipline and the understanding that true creation is a continuous act of conscious dwelling. But the man who understands the law cultivates a disciplined imagination. He knows that his creative power is always active, and he chooses to direct it consciously and persistently, maintaining the inner feeling of his desired reality until it blossoms into being. He is not impatient, he is persistent in his inner conviction. If you fail to sustain this inner state, if you allow the facts of your old world to constantly pull you back into doubt and fear, you will perpetuate the very limitations you seek to escape. You will continue to hit that invisible ceiling, feeling the familiar sting of frustration and the bitter taste of "why not me?" Your dreams will remain forever just beyond your grasp, mocking you from the distant horizon. But if you commit to this discipline, if you steadfastly dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, then you will witness miracles. You will see those impossible dreams begin to materialize before your very eyes. You will break through decades-long career blocks, manifest relationships you only fantasized about, and discover a financial freedom that once seemed utterly unobtainable. The world will become a malleable reflection of your magnificent inner conviction. Say this with me, with absolute conviction: my sustained feeling of the wish fulfilled manifests my reality. I am a disciplined creator. I dwell in my desired state, and the world conforms. Repeat daily: I dwell in my desired state, and the world conforms to my inner truth. Now you have the knowledge, but knowledge without application is useless. Here's exactly how you will begin to dissolve those limitations and manifest your impossible desires. Tonight and every night for the next 30 days, before you drift off to sleep, that sacred state where the subconscious is most receptive, I want you to choose one specific perceived limitation in your life. It might be that financial ceiling, that blocked career path, or that seemingly unobtainable relationship. Do not think about how it will be resolved. Instead, in your imagination, you will construct a short, simple scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. For example, if it's financial, imagine opening a bank statement showing the desired sum, or feeling the utter relief of being debt-free. If it's a relationship, imagine the feeling of your partner's hand in yours, or hearing them express their love for you. If it's career, feel the satisfaction of receiving congratulations on your promotion, or the joy of working in your dream role. Make it real. Engage all your senses. Feel the emotion of the wish fulfilled. And as you fall asleep in that feeling, in that scene, as the person who already possesses that desire. Do not allow your mind to wander back to the old facts or the old story. When you wake, carry that feeling, that inner knowing, with you throughout the day. Return to it often. I promise you this: by committing to this implementation ritual, a specific perceived limitation, e.g., financial ceiling, relationship block, career stagnation, begins to dissolve and show signs of transformation within 30 days, or you will clearly identify the exact inner assumption creating that limitation. There is no failure, only revelation. Do you now see? Your limitations are not external realities, but merely persistent assumptions you hold about yourself. We have peeled back the layers to reveal that your perceived prisons are built from your own inner beliefs. You now understand that manifesting your wildest dreams isn't about effort or struggle, but about a specific internal shift in conviction. It is about choosing your inner reality, not fighting your outer one. And finally, you know with absolute certainty that you cannot be denied any desire if you truly believe in the omnipotence of your imagination. Your imagination is God in action, and it knows no impossibility. We have revealed why the hidden law isn't hidden at all, but simply ignored by 99% of seekers. It is the law of assumption, deceptively simple, yet utterly powerful. You now understand the exact moment you unconsciously create the limitations that plague your life. It is in the acceptance of persistent, subconscious assumptions about yourself. And you have learned what I did when faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles that instantly dissolved them. I chose inner conviction over external fact, and I lived from the feeling of my wish fulfilled. Now the choice is yours, as it always has been. Will you continue to build those invisible walls around yourself, blaming external circumstances, feeling the heavy sigh of resignation, whispering, "Why not me?" Or will you claim your divine power, step into the magnificent reality of your own creating, and dissolve every perceived limitation by simply assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled? Will you remain a prisoner of shadows, or will you become the conscious architect of your destiny? This truth is not to be heard once and forgotten. This truth is to be lived. Play this again, return to this daily, absorb these principles, and apply them diligently. For in doing so, you will not only transform your own life, but you will become a living testament to the forbidden truth about your limitless being. Your journey to absolute freedom begins now.